Someone just wanted to book another container.
That's a good way to start.
Yeah.
Excellent. So we'll get started. Thank you everyone for coming today. Self-storage, the ultimate hands-free business. Just want to kick off with this really. Recently we were getting asked what are the returns on self-storage, so I thought it's time to build a financial model so we can share with people so they can plug their own numbers in, have a play around with it. So taking all the recent data from the Self-Storage Association's annual report, created this. So if I take 1 acre, on 1 acre, if it's a square acre, I could probably fit 173 20-foot containers on there. If I rent them out at £50 per week and I'm operating at 82% occupancy, in year 5, I'll be bringing in an annual profit of £318,000. So it's unbelievable the returns on self-storage. And Angus did actually say it wasn't too far away, so got his backing. So up here today, I'm Pennicott, the marketing director of Cleveland Group. Cleveland Centre is a part of Cleveland Group now. I've been at Cleveland 10 years, and in that time, spoke to, dealt with, and worked with probably over 500 different self-storage operators. We've got Patrick from Stora. Can you give a bit of a background story, Patrick?
Yeah, so we are a self-storage software company, so we help operators run their sites. So we do like online bookings, ID checks, contracts, and we automate all the payments and access for our customers. So ultimately, your customers can just go to your site, do the online booking, and you can run unmanned sites without having to put any work behind those. So
yeah, Stora is the hands-free element of this. We've got a customer who buys containers from us. He lives in Spain. He's got 2 sites, and he runs his self-storage site from Spain. Never meets a customer, just does it fully remote from a different country. And we were just about to do the presentation yesterday, and 10 minutes before, Angus is here, but he got a booking. Someone booked on your site, and I think you just got another one just now, or someone wanting to move in. So yeah, you really can run this site fully remote. You don't have to be there. You don't have to meet customers. We've got Emily from ET Planning as well.
Hi everyone. So ET Planning is my independent planning consultancy. So we help with applying for planning permission for the change of use of land for the storage, self-storage developments that you're looking to do. We need to be careful of site selection and lots of different considerations like transport, landscape, things like that, which we'll talk about in a bit more detail in this presentation. But yeah, my role is planning permission for the change of use.
And this year we've got Angus, who is a real-life farmer. We brought Angus along, who's been our customer for a few years now. He uses Stora, he's used Emily for his planning, and he's diversified into self-storage. Do you want to give a background on what you do, Angus?
Yeah, so we're farmers, we're not the biggest farmers, so we needed to look at diversification, and went into self-storage, started off with 12, gone from there with the help of everyone around us, really. And keeps going, really.
Just got to 100, haven't you?
Yeah, I just got to 100, a few weeks ago, and he's still going now, just looking at trying to go for another site, sort of 10, 15 miles away from where we are as well.
Well, Angus, you're in a really rural site as well, so it hasn't hindered you.
No, it's worked all right, really, because people were far away, but we're also close to the roads, so we are on a farm. People drive through the yard to get to where the containers are, and we're not in the city, so it's kind of like security's quite good as well.
So if anyone who is completely new to self-storage, it's very simple. It's a business where it lets businesses or people rent secure units to put their things in for short or long-term use. It's that easy. And there's a picture of Angus's site up there. So he's a real self-storage, real farmer. A quick overview of the industry. These are all stats pulled together from the Self-Storage Association, who are over there today. They've got Stevens there, so if you want to speak to them guys, feel free. But they do an annual report every year. They interview hundreds of self-storage operators. They supply their data and they compile a big report. So the annual turnover of the industry now is 1.2 billion in the UK. That's an 11% increase on last year. There's 2,915 total self-storage sites, but that's the only ones we know about. There's a lot of operators out there who they're not on Google, they're not on websites, they're just local. They'll just put signage up. So that number is probably quite a bit higher, but that number itself is an 8% increase on last year from last year's report. And there's 1,135 external storage sites. That's a 12% increase on last year. And external sites now make up 39% of the market. And since 2022, the number of external sites has grown by 82%. So it's a massive increase in external sites opening up. Total industry occupancy rate is at 75.1%. And 90% of the sites now take online bookings. In the world we live in today, where we're buying from Amazon, we're ordering off Just Eat, we can do everything on our phones. We just want to crack on. it's so important to have your website allows people to just check out and do everything themselves online. So that's on the industry awareness and usage. So 88% of the public are aware of self-storage, but only 50% can name a local self-storage operator. So there's massive opportunity still to enter the market, make a name for yourself, do your marketing well, and still competitions customers. 73 is domestic, 27% of business, but businesses make up 1/3 of the total space due to taking larger units. 30% of customers are repeat customers, showing there is recurring demand. And in the UK, we have currently 0.94 square foot of space per person, whereas in the US, they've got 10 times that more. So it just shows there's enormous growth for the UK market. You know, new homes are being built now. The lofts aren't lined. There's no garages. People don't like to throw things away. So self-storage is becoming more and more and more in demand. One of the biggest things I think it was important for you guys here today is, from the report, external self-storage sites are growing faster in rural areas. Speaking to people, less planning, less restrictions in rural areas, as long as you've got hard standing. People, like Angus will say as well, I think people see a rural site as a bit more secure. You're out at the public eye. I don't know if you've had any feedback, Angus, from people who have saying that.
Yeah, they quite like it because there's not many eyes on it, and quite a lot of trees surround it, so people can't see it, and people don't really know it's there.
It's in the back, you have to drive through them.
Yeah, you have to drive through our yard. We've got cameras everywhere and fence, and you can't see it from the road either, so you wouldn't know it's there unless you're looking for it.
So it's not something to be scared of, setting up a self-storage site in a rural area. You can still attract customers to yourself, and we'll get into that a bit later as well. So we think there's like 7 steps to starting a hands-free self-storage business. The research, the planning, your site, the containers, security, management, and marketing. So starting with research, you want to assess the demand in your local area. Typically, people will drive 20 to 30 minutes for their self-store site. They don't mind driving a little bit more for secure and affordable storage. Check population and life triggers, moving, deaths, renovations, downsizing, all that stuff. They are triggers for self-storage. There's tools like Street Check or the UK Census Explorer that can use to review local demographics. And ChatGPT is unbelievable for research and self-storage as well. Identifying service gaps as well, looking at what your competition are doing. Are they full? Are they half full? So many operators are 100% capacity and they've got waiting lists. Their waiting list is your customers. If they're only at half capacity, they're probably doing a bad job with their marketing if you look at the average occupancy rate for the UK. And 88% of people would consider using self-storage, but 40% don't know what it offers. So clear signage, education, build trust, attract customers. Once you understand there is demand in your area, next thing we want to do is planning. We always want to do planning. You never want to put containers down first and then do it afterwards.
All right. Fab. So starting a self-storage business requires a change of use of the part of the land that you're looking at into storage. So planning application is needed for that change of use. The first thing that we do as planners is look at where your site is and what restrictions it has. So if you are in the green belt, it might make things a little bit more complicated. If you're in a national park or a national landscape, previously called Area of Outstanding Natural Beauty, things like the landscape effect on those can be important, and the council will give sort of due consideration to those. That doesn't mean you can't get development, but it does mean that the location of the area where you want to put the containers is important, like how visible it is. It might mean that you can't do double stacking, but you can still do single. So there's just those sort of things that we have to pay attention to. If you have existing hard standing that you can use, that is by far and away the best thing to do, and the location to put the storage containers. Or if you've got some ramshackle falling down building that, again, you can effectively take that down or propose to take that down and replace with the storage containers, that's also really useful. So from the council's perspective, any visual impact is sort of similar, or you're replacing one for another. And if you're using existing hard standing, then fundamentally you're not going to have drainage issues, which if you were going to build in a field, for example, and lay down hard standing, we'd need to give consideration to drainage. And the other thing is something called biodiversity net gain. I have seen one of the environmental practices, they've been doing some talks on biodiversity net gain over there. If you've never heard of it, do make your way over there to understand. But essentially, if you are using more than 25 square meters of vegetation, you're removing more than 25 square meters of vegetation to create the storage development, then you will need to do extra planting to compensate for what you're taking away. Now, if you have a lot of farmland, that might not be a problem because you can do extra planting somewhere else. But if you don't, or you don't want to use it, then you will need to buy what's called off-site credits. So it just increases the cost through the planning process of being able to get your change of use set up. So if you have existing hard standing, please use it. That's definitely the best way to kind of get going. And then the other item that I've got on the list there to think about is traffic and access. So ideally you'd have a good existing access that we can make use of. A bit like with Angus, you drive through the farm or off in a different direction, and then you've got your area where you're doing self-storage. If you do need to create a new access, then we need to include that in a planning application. And we need to make sure that it's safe, it meets highway safety standards, particularly for the different size of vehicles that could be coming in and out of the self-storage. And that largely depends on whether you're thinking that you would rent to businesses or to domestic end users. So the larger the size of vehicles, the more we need to give to space, access, turning, that kind of thing within the site and the entrance. And the speed of the road will dictate the visibility displays that you need as you're coming, particularly out of the site, how far you can see in either direction. The faster the speed of the road, the farther you need to be able to see. So we have to do those sort of assessments and submit that information as part of a planning application. So I find that out of all the different storage applications I do, the number one report that I need is some kind of transport statement, tracking plan, drawing of vehicles going around the site. And then the second thing is biodiversity net gain if it's not just using existing hard standing.
Something you mentioned as well when it was about a building, but using a building for self-storage. A few people have come and spoke to us about, I've got an old barn, I've got something on site already that I can put containers in. Some question yesterday about business rates.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'll let you answer that one.
Thanks. So when you apply for the change of use of a barn into self-storage, my view is that it would have higher setup costs to do, first of all, in terms of planning. Whereas if you do outside self-storage, you can literally just buy, half a dozen containers and you build up your containers as you go. The other thing is that when you get planning permission on a barn or building for storage, the whole building is granted that planning permission. Therefore, you would trigger paying business rates for that whole building, and that's based on the floor area of the building. You're all welcome to go and speak to the Self-Storage Association at their stand. My understanding is that business rates on containers externally sited, there is a business rates arrangement where you just pay per container. So again, it's a way of reducing your upfront startup costs by being able to limit the number of containers that you have, and then just looking at the returns and how many years it takes to get that full occupancy, you can build up a certain amount of occupancy before you invest in more containers, and you're actually using the income that you're generating from your first batch of containers to pay for the rest. In terms of a planning application, I can apply for you, for a certain red line area. This is the area that we want for the self-storage. You don't have to put, say it was 100 containers that would fit in. You don't have to put all 100 containers in one go. You can do that gradually. As long as you start, your planning permission will be implemented. But with a building, the whole building gets the planning permission. Once you put one container in, you've implemented that permission and you have to pay like the business rates on the lot. So it's a slightly more expensive setup. And if you did want to do things to the building, like insulate it, for example, you're going to have to do that across the whole building to make it work, even if you only have one container being rented.
Something we can do as well in working with Emily is we can produce site layout and plans. We've done many for Emily, and you actually use these applications. So if you did want to save yourself a few grand, and instead of going to an architect, you can speak to us. We've got a CAD guy who works for us. And he can actually, this is one of the plans he's created. We can create these, and we can do the turning circles, all the traffic and stuff, and then we can pass this to Emily and her team, and then they can use that in their application. So you can save yourself a few grand easily by just working with us on your self-storage site.
Absolutely, and this is an example of one of the applications that we've done, and we were able to work with Cleveland, change some of the diagrams around. You can see there the council has actually asked us to include a disabled parking space. So every council will have standards for how much parking is necessary. This is partly why we need to do a transport statement, because depending on who your end users are, you actually don't really have people parking at a site for a long time, right? They turn up, they unload their stuff, and then they go again. But you might need to have half a dozen spaces or so. I mean, Angus will probably give you, examples from his own site. But this particular council wanted us to have a disabled parking space, so we had to squeeze that in. And we had areas of the site you can see in the sort of top corner where they've got smaller containers. We needed a good turning circle for the vehicles at that end of the site. So it was almost like you come in one way, drive around the end, one-way loop round, and then you drive back out again. But in order to get that swing of the vehicle, we actually had to make those containers smaller. So we showed that worked and put that into council.
So do your research, we've got planning, now you think about your site. So some things to think about here, solid level ground is really important. It has to be hard standing, it doesn't have to be concrete pad, it can be hardcore. As long as the ground is firm, solid, wagons can come, big vans can come. With a container, you don't need to support the full container. As long as the four corners are supported, that's enough. So bricks, breeze blocks, chocks of wood, as long as the four corners are nice and level and secure, that's all you need. Otherwise, you might get some issues with doors. One door might drop and it makes it difficult to open and close. You might get some whingy customers. So just make sure all four corners are supported. Like we've said, wide turning circles, allow space for vans, trailers, HGVs, farm equipment to get around the site easily. And like Emily alluded to as well, modular approach is definitely encourageable. You don't have to get 100 containers, just start with 6 containers. We've got a customer called Scott's for Storage, Len, who's a farmer in Yorkshire. He started with 6 containers, he's now got 300. And when he gets a new customer, he just calls us up and says, look, I've got a customer moving in, can I get a container dropped off? And he buys them in 2s. And within a week, he's got the containers on site, and then the customer moves in. So you don't have to, it's not a massive upfront cost in terms of containers to get going. And really plan for success. That's the biggest thing I think I say to people. People start self-storage with a handful of containers, and before they know it, they're at 100, 200, 300. And the site layout isn't optimal. It's not, they've not really thought about double stacking at the start, so then it's leaving space for that. So really maximising the revenue on that site, so that's when you can go too high. So just plan for success, and that's where we can help you as well. Talking about double stacking, you'll see our containers over there. We've got containers on top of the other units. The most popular one, I think, at the moment, and what's really going is a topper unit. So it's basically just a 20-foot standard container, and we cut a walkway through the middle, then we make 2 rooms either side. There's one over there, the green one up there is a topper unit. If you want to look afterwards, go and take a look. But it just allows you to just make more revenue on that site, so you're not just doing a single floor. You can go double stacked, make more revenue on the footprint of your site. So some of the containers, so by far and away, the industry standards is a 20-foot one-trip container. They cost about $2,000 at the moment, and you're looking at about £200 a month in revenue, depending where you are. There's sites in London who are getting £400 a month, but £200 a month, £50 a week is kind of, I'd say, an average now. But just a quick note, I had a few questions today on condensation in containers. If condensation was an issue in shipping containers, they would have changed the design of a shipping container 70 years ago. If you put something wet inside of a container, it will condensate, like anything will. So it's more like educating customers, isn't it, Angus? So you've got 100 containers on site. You've never had anyone. You've had one person whose container condensated. That's because he left a paint in there.
Yeah, they opened paint tins in, and he said it's condensation. So we took them out, and it was fine.
Yeah,
we don't insulate them or anything like that.
Yeah, so it's just educating the customer. You put, when someone books a container, you let them know, like, look, don't put anything wet in the container, and you won't have an issue with condensation. I think is the biggest thing when you're onboarding new customers. Small containers are great if you do want to offer a bit of variety on site, but they are pricey. If you're new to containers, you might think, why is a small container double the price or £1,000 more than a one that's double the size? It's because for anyone who doesn't know shipping containers, when we buy the containers from China, they're filled with people's cargo. They pay for the shipping of that unit to the UK. When the container gets to the UK, the cargo's unloaded, then the container's given to us to then sell on. With small containers, we have to pay to ship them here from China. So an 8-foot will fit inside a 10-foot like a Russian doll. We have to pay for the shipping. It just adds to the cost of the box. But they are popular. They do fill gaps if you do want a bit of variety on site. A unit that's becoming massively popular, and it's been really popular on our stand so far today and yesterday, is a multi-store. So we basically take a standard 20-foot container, we put some partitions in there, we put doors on the side, and we make 4 rooms. And you can get more yield from a multi-store. So if you're renting a 20-foot standard container out at £50 a week, you could easily rent one of them little rooms out at £20, £25 a week. And once it's full, there's a lot more yield in a multi-store. They're great for end of rows. I always think an end of a row is a dead space anywhere. So just put some multi-stores on there, facing out. If you've got back-to-back 20 foot, so you've got eight rooms and an end of a row. So think about the different units you can have on site as well. very briefly on security, because it is important. If you do want to set up a site, you do want to join the Self-Storage Association, there are a set list of things you have to do to join the association and be accredited with a proper self-store site. So monitored CCTV and AI detection are becoming massive now. There's a company called DSOC who are a part of the SSA. They're great. If you get the cameras put on site, they can then monitor them for you. Like 82% sites now are using monitored CCTV, and then you combine that with AI. If a dog came onto the site, the AI technology they're using on their monitoring, it won't flag that to you or to them to say there's an intruder on site. They can use AI to detect who's on site or what it is on site to stop them false alerts. Controlled access is a big thing as well. If you do want to go fully manless, having a keypad, an app-based software on site is a big part of it, which links in with Stora. So when someone books through Stora, they'll get sent an email straight away that's saying, here's your code to get onto the site. If you've got a keypad, then you don't have to then contact the customer to say, here's your code to get on site. It's all done automatically for you. There's loads of different options. You can have a keypad, QR code, an app. There's loads of different options out there. It just totally depends how you want to do it. Perimeter, secure it, fencing, motion activated lighting, speakers on site. So if you do go with a company who monitors for you, they can to people on site, they can help them on site as well. So then it just saves you time and effort running the site. And like we said, integrated system. So you get a good access controls in it, and then you can integrate with Stora. The big thing as well is the management of the site. It's how I'm going to run it. I spoke to someone earlier. Said, "Look, I've got the land. I don't want to. I don't want to deal with customers. What can I do?" And instantly just said, "Just speak to Stora." So I'll let Patrick talk through a bit more about Stora.
Yeah, so with Stora, like we provide like a website where basically it's already like pre-made for you guys. So then you can customize it with your branding, your image, and everything. But this will allow you to set up your containers into the website. So there they will be able to see the different containers you have available. They will be able to book online, pay online. So we do all these recurring payments. So you don't have to chase your customers to like basically do a wire transfer for you. Everything like it's automated. So once they pay, then they can just get into your sign the contract and they can get into your site. So basically what you want is like from the beginning to automate that, let all your customers go into your website and book online, so you don't have to take all those phone calls, emails, and follow up with them. So it's all automated from the beginning. Mm-hmm. So yeah, just to give you a little bit of clarity. So today we have about over 750 sites using Stora. So about 25% of self-storage operators in the UK are using Stora, and we're continuously growing. But from our customers, the ones that have online bookings, 70% of their bookings goes directly through the website. So that means that you get 70% less phone calls, emails, and WhatsApp. So everything goes directly, and the customer is fully independent from the beginning. And then we do some sort of things that help you grow your business within your current site. So one of the things we do is price increases. So we launched earlier this year a price increase tool. So this allows you to automatically set the price increase for your current tenants, and we'll send a notification. So what you can do today is, if you have like 50 customers, you can increase their price for January, and they will receive a notification then with their price increase. Sort of thing like Netflix or Spotify is doing actually to us. So we basically launched this tool, which is very easy to set up, and I believe like pretty much plenty of our operators are using it and bringing their revenue.
It's so important to do it from day one, price increases. It's harder to do it after. If you start really low and then you want to put price increases, I get it as a fear. Everyone's going to move out, but just do it from day one. Because there's sites out there making more money at 80% occupancy than sites out there at 100% occupancy. They're not increasing prices. They're not being smart with it. So just install in price increases. I'd say 6, 9 or 12 months. 12 months absolute maximum. Don't do any more. Don't go with 12 months. I would say 6 or 9. Start increasing in prices.
The other thing someone said to me once is that if you increase your prices every year and it's just by 3%, 5%, whatever that is, it's a small increase. People are more likely to stay. If you leave it 5 years and then suddenly you want to increase your price by 15%, someone's going to go, oh, that's a big increase, so the smaller, more frequent is better.
We go to loads of events with the SSA, and price increasing prices is always a hot topic. But speaking to operators who have got multiple sites, when they do price increasing, they get less than a 1% checkout rate. So it's not something to be scared of.
Yeah, 100%. And especially if that price increase is not that high, like same as Spotify or Netflix does to us, increases like few quid a month. Like nobody says anything. We continue to use their services.
And one of Stora's customers, they increased their prices, and then in 1 month they increased their revenue by £27,000 just by increasing pricing. So it's pretty powerful stuff.
100%. So another thing we do is dynamic pricing. So basically here your prices will increase or decrease depending on your occupancy level. So basically once you start, you probably want to fulfill your units as soon as possible. So maybe you want to set yourself maybe a bit lower prices than your competitors so you can fill your units as quickly as possible and you don't lose on revenue there. But then by the time your occupancy rates are further up, you want to increase your prices. So we have a tool that automatically will change your pricing to your website depending on your occupancy levels. That whole thing increased the revenue about 4% on our current customers. So it's also a good tool to use and very easy to set up within Stora. And then, as I said at the beginning, we do all these automatic payments. So this allows you to stop having to go behind your customers and ensure that they pay at the end of the month. So with Stora, we have a payment platform that goes through us. So it allows you to have your customers pay by card or direct debits, and they are automatically billed from that. And that will basically down your debt to up to 50%. So currently from all our customers, I think their average debt is less than 1%. So it's very, very low. What you want to do is from the beginning have some sort of automatic payments put in place, so you don't have to chase your customers for payments. So very quickly today, as I said, Stora will help you grow your sales. So we have a high converting website that allows you to have your customers put their details and go straight to payment very quickly. So you have plenty of conversions there. As I said, we also help you maximize your income through dynamic pricing, price increase tools, and also recurrent revenue opportunities. You can sell padlocks. You can sell 24 hours access as a surplus, and that will again help you increase your benefits within your site. And then we also connect to your gates. So we are connected to different companies here like Janus or Farebox or plenty of other smart entry. So basically, once the customer pays, the day they will enter your site, they will get a code or notification with an app to download so they can access your site completely independent, but still secure because we know that customer has paid, has signed a contract, and then they will be able to access. So also if the payment fails, we will block them the access. So it's all automatic and connected to our platform there. We are also connected to insurance. So basically, you can resell your insurance to your end customers. So the customers can set the amount of insurance they want to have covered within their goods, and you can resell that insurance to your customers. So let's say you have a 2,000 policy for your customers and they pay 15 pounds a month for that. Basically you are passing that cost into your customers, because for that 2,000 pounds coverage, you're probably paying £5 a month and your customer is paying 15. So you get a good leverage out of that. So it's also a good money maker. You can use it from your phone, from your laptop, from anywhere. I believe, Angus, you were using it from your phone. You were just showing me there new customers coming in and out from.
Yeah, very easy to use, yeah.
As I said, you want to automate your revenue. So in storage, your customers are going to pay on a monthly basis. So what you want is to have your customers pay automatically on a monthly basis, so you don't have to chase the payments.
What do you think about Stora, Angus? Using it? Have you used it since you went live?
Yeah, day one. Yeah, they sort of set you up with the website as well, so all the bookings on there, everything's automatic. I've got a map with all the sites, so you can see who's coming in, who's going out, and say chasing payment, they do it automatically.
So lastly, marketing, how are we going to get customers in containers? Roadside visibility is really key. Bold signage, branded containers, flags, digital boards, anything like that is really important. 70% of customers know their local store thanks to roadside advertising. Local search as well, Google business profile. If you go on Google Maps, how you find a business on there is because they've got a thing called a Google business profile. It's free to set up, easy to set up. Self-storage is like finding tires for a car. People will go to Google Maps or Google to search for it. Invest in SEO, your local searches, self-storage, South Cave for Angus. Then people are searching that, be visible, get good content on there. I would always recommend to work with a small local agency who understands your local area to optimize the website. If you do want to fill your containers as quick as possible, Google Ads. Angus has had some really good experience with it. You were at, is it 12 containers you were at and struggling to get customers in there?
Yeah, we had 12, but only 6 were full, and then we went to Google Ads, and it's just, rocketed from there.
And you've got, how fast have you gone from the 12 to 100?
I think it was March 2024, we had 12, and then today we've got 100.
Yeah, it's a good growth thanks to Google Ads. Get into top Google, people searching for self-storage near me. You put a radius around your site, you'll come up top of Google, get them inquiries. Partnerships and promotions like estate agents, movers, tradespeople. These are all people who either use self-storage or interact with people who use self-storage. Flyers in shops, etc., referrals, prizes, all that sort of stuff. Really good to form some strong partnerships in your local area. And then offline, so many people say a flyer drop still works so well for their self-storage sites. Every 6 months they'll just do a flyer drop with the Royal Mail. It sounds old school, but it clearly works. And a lot of self-storage I speak to are saying how powerful it is. And did things like Facebook Marketplace. It's free, it's easy. Join your local community groups. They'll let you advertise on there normally 1 day a week. And my top tip, I said it on the Stora podcast, was if you go to a car wash, you go in somewhat like a car wash is set up in a local car park, and they always give you an air freshener at the end, and you stick it in your dash, and you probably leave it there for 2 weeks, even though the smell's gone. Everyone who uses a car wash is in your local area. They're the customers who you want to advertise to. If you gave all the car washes in your local area a free branded air freshener, which is probably going to cost 20p to make per air freshener, and then you give it out to people, they're going to hang it in their window, and you're advertising your business to them for 2 weeks, and it's cost you hardly anything. If I was a operator, that's what I would be doing. Hopefully someone gives that a go and tells me it works. If you do want some inspiration, there's a company called Clear Storage. They're based over towards Wales way. If you want to look at someone who's done it and done it well, done it right, and absolutely flying as a business, Clear self-storage, they don't just do, they do 20-foot standards bulk mainly, but they do insulate them, they put dehumidifiers in them, they do all sorts, they do it really smart. From a branding point of view as well, how they operate. So just a bit of inspiration there if you do want to look at someone who does it well and does it right. If you are interested in self-storage, we do have a service called Box Plus. It doesn't cost you anything. You just come and talk to us, buy containers from us. We'll introduce you to all the operators to get you set up and start your self-storage business. We just want to introduce you to the best partners to get you set up and get you set up quickly and get profitable as quick as possible. So if you are interested, please come and speak to us. If you want to know any more on self-storage, we have our own podcast, which is doing really well now. We filmed it 2 years ago, and now we're getting inquiries weekly from people who said, I've seen your podcast with so-and-so, and interested in Box Plus, interested in self-storage. So we've got a thing called Chatbox. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, but we post the shorts on TikTok. And Ben said yesterday, we got Emily a sale from TikTok because he saw the short. Me and Emily filmed one, and we cut some shorts, and one of them got 50,000 views. So you actually got a sale from him, which was amazing to hear. It works. So lastly, your next 5 years. Year 1, it's groundwork. We're setting up, planning, we're launching our marketing. In year 2 is when we start growing, units are filling, brand awareness building. In year 3, we're breaking even. We've reached at 80% occupancy. In year 4, payback, consistent demand, steady returns. And in year 5 is when we're fully established, we're hands-free, and we're up to that £318,000 profit. So 1 acre, 5 years, £318,000 profit. And the cost of not acting today isn't just lost income. It's watching others turn opportunity into effortless profit. So don't miss out on the opportunity to do something before someone else local to you does it. And if there's one thing to remember is the containers, the customers, the demand are already out there now, waiting for you to connect them. Thank you, everyone, for listening to us today. If anyone's got any questions, I think there's a mic at the back. Stick your hand up and we're free to answer anything. If not, come and speak to us at the end. A fair few people can spoke to us at the end. Happy to have a chat afterwards. All good. Thank you, everyone.